Alright, so similar to the element before, I have a kind of a clear vision of what I want to achieve, and the same principle applies. We have a bunch of complex sounds already in there, so I will keep it pretty focused in terms of sound design on this one. And I feel like I want to elaborate on that polyrhythmic part here. Again, polyrhythmic meaning that the note length, we can see this part would repeat, doesn't repeat to the full 2 bars or 3. There's different kinds of polyrhythms as well, but I'm thinking of doing something in that style. So I want to just set that up right from the start. So this would be a pattern. This sounds terrible. So let's just activate a filter on this. And maybe go for some pluck type of sound. And we're pretty glued to the root here, so I want to find a different note of our scale to start with. Maybe B or one of the others we keep coming back to. This is not too bad, actually. Those note lengths. I'm going for a bit more of a plucky sound here. Trying to see which notes of the scale might fit. G sharp actually does work quite well here. Let's go in the patch. Looking for a wavetable I like. Scanning through those modulation options here to see if I find something I like, but the bend actually wasn't too bad. Maybe a bit of that. The sound is a bit simple, so let's go for some white noise again. Getting closer to what I'm imagining. The longer release here really helps. Because it was too binary, if that makes sense. Like the sound is either on or off, but now this is a really evolving, longer kind of decay. I like it. Let me loop that section. And we go for some effects. Again, looking for a distortion I like. Sorry for that. Diode 2 doesn't sound too bad, I like it. A bit less wet. Oh, the chorus works well on here as well. And when choosing effects, what I usually do, so you see me and I say like I'm just trying for for a sound I like. There is a reason to this as well. So you have a section of effects that introduce stereo or space, like reverbs, delays, chorus, flanger. So in this case, I'm distorting the sound because it's a very simple wave and I want to give it some more texture. And then afterwards, I want to introduce some kind of stereo information just to make the sound a bit wider, a bit more interesting to listen to. And just for me personally, there's the space-wise category that would be reverb, delay, like I said, or like timbre, texture kind of effects like distortion, or also dynamic effects like compressors, transient shapers, stuff like that. So yeah, because I had a clear idea of when to place this sound, like I said in the break, I think the sound can use some more stereo information. And it is a quite simple sound, but the stereo really helps it to shine, and it would be great to have something like that in the break. Make it a tad bit pluckier, again using a long attack to let the initial transient through. And maybe also a reverb. Just making it super wet to find the right settings. A long kind of reverb would work well with this, I'm thinking. Once I found the sound I like. Good time to follow up with some Ableton effects as well. Relying heavily on echo this session. But it just sounds so good. The ping pong one works well here. It really gives it a dreamy space. I like it. And just a quick cleanup EQ. Because again, with the noise and distortion and everything, we have a lot of rumble from the synth, so cutting that away, tiny bit boost around the fundamental, and that should be good to go. Just boosting the volume a bit here. Trying not to touch those faders too much, because at some point I will go back and look at the mix and it can be a bit confusing for me. So I like to sometimes just use the gain setting on EQs, since you already have an EQ on there as well. So might as well do that. All right, now we have a quite good structure, I would say. Let me play that again one more time. So we have that intense section. Not sure if I will leave it just like this. It will probably change up at some point. But I'm really focused on this part. I like it. Perfect. And this can drag into the break. I will have to see about that. So I'm really looking at evolving this into some kind of structure and do like a proper arrangement. But there's one key element missing, and those are the vocals. I teased in the beginning, I got to pick a vocal for this track, and I want to incorporate that now. And once we have the vocal in there, I think it is time to stretch everything out into an arrangement, go back and forth for mixing, just to check if everything sits well together. And then towards the end, I will process the groups, match everything up, and get the thing to playable level, as in I will do a small little mastering chain. We're almost at a point where we have a proper track. Next up is the vocal. Great, so we have something to work with, and it is time to introduce that vocal. And for that, I have been provided by PML with a great vocal sample, which I'm going to use. This 4-man shifted female vocal. Right, so first, let's set up a group for the vocals, and same trick as with the other ones, I will bring down the volume.
Daydream, I dream of you whenever I breathe. Can you make me believe? My vision's always clearer when I feel close to me. I would sleepwalk to your house if you leave me with a doubt. I would go the extra mile. I would give you all my time.
Amazing. That's what we are going to work with. So we have a group set up already. Let's give it a color. Neat. And it is time to take a look at vocal processing. And I think a good place to do this is right here on that break section we've built. And let's just play it all together, see what it sounds like. Just straight up like this.
Daydream, I dream of you whenever I breathe. Can you make me?
Not sure if the bass is a good fit here, so actually I want to extend it a bit. Let's see if this section is better.
Daydream, I dream of you
It's
whenever
more,
I breathe.
that's
Can you
more
make me believe?
what I wanted.
My vision's always clearer when I feel close to me. I would sleepwalk.
All right, time to process the vocals. They do sound pretty good. It's a nice recording and some 4-man shifting in there for that like lower octave type of sound. I think we can introduce some chorus maybe, because we do have some stereo information here if I'm
Daydream, I dream
hearing
of you
correct.
whenever I breathe. Can you make me believe?
There's also a bit of
My
reverb on
vision's
there, but I think we can embrace that a bit more, make it more wide in the mix. So that's why I'm
daydream, I dream of you
using the
whenever
ensemble
I
mode.
breathe. Can you make me believe?
Nice.
My vision's always clearer when I feel close to me. I would sleepwalk to your house if you leave me with a doubt. I would go the
Very subtle. I'm trying to not overdo it. That's an easy trap to fall into, especially with reverbs and delays. So that's why this doesn't do too much, but it's a nice subtle touch to the vocals, I think.
daydream, I dream of you whenever I breathe.
All right, next up, let's do some EQing.
Daydream, I dream of you whenever I breathe. Can you make
Maybe
me
a bit of a
believe?
cleanup here.
My vision's always clearer when I feel close to me.
And the lowest tones here are pretty strong, so I'm taming them a bit.
Sleepwalk to your house if you leave me with a doubt. I would go the
Next thing I
extra
will do
mile. I
is
would give
bring in a compressor, because I want to keep the dynamics in check. And usually it helps with vocals to compress them, to make them really dense so they stand out in the mix. You never want to drown a vocal so that you're like listening and you're like, oh, okay, there's a vocal somewhere. This should be like really straight up, and I want to achieve it by compressing it, meaning the louder parts of the vocal, if you look at the waveform, it would be like this initial pop here maybe, or the more pronounced parts of that lyric or vocal, and those will be attenuated, and vice versa. That means everything that's a bit quieter goes up. So we will be hearing a bit more of that reverb and shimmer from the ensemble, and it helps to dense up the vocal. So same deal as before. I am trying to find, in this case, it actually comes in handy to have the visualizer here because you can see the peaks. So you can see that initial bump here and the rest is kind of low. I want to bring those closer together. That's the goal here.
Always clearer when I feel close to me. My vision's always clearer when I feel close to me. My vision's always clearer when I feel close to me.
And now when you see me crank up those settings every now and then, it's really just me trying to find a spot I like, and then I'm easing back out again. So I like what I have here, but it shouldn't be that extreme. So I think a setting like this, just ever so slightly, it's not really heavy compression. Actually, I do like the peak mode on here because it cuts off a bit more and makes it a bit more dense. We have more gain reduction in this particular example. But yeah, it's pretty subtle, but it does help a lot, especially if everything else is playing. Well, here we can check maybe right now. Yeah, you really want to push that vocal to the front. So what else can we do? Bring in another reverb. Even though the sample does have reverb in it, I think it can use some more. So let's loop that section. This one sounds good. Maybe a bit shorter. I really like the shimmer algorithm here. I don't use it too much because it's a very grand and extra effect, but in this case, I think it works. Subtle touch of vintage, and now it's about finding the right balance here. So let's check maybe just this part, and I want you to focus on where that vocal ends and hear the tail from the reverb and everything. Let's just compare that section. It's a bit more shimmery, a bit tighter. Also because of the compressor, the volume is ducked a bit, but we can counteract that easily later on. But it still has room for more effects. So let's bring in some delay, and I want to switch it up and not use the 8th dotted. Again, going for a big stereo image. And I don't want it to repeat too much, so I'm pulling down the feedback. I like the sound of that. I want to check an OTT just to get it a bit more up front. It's a great tool to easily achieve that. Yeah, so more extreme compression. And I'm doing this later down the processing because what this does, it brings up the reverb and detail from the delays and everything, but it's more noticeable after the vocal stops, if that makes sense. So you can hear those nice shimmery tails we've created before, and it also helps to boost the volume a bit. And again, just a cleanup. This is good, I like it for now. Let me duplicate this reverb and put it all the way at the end, because what I want to do is we have two sections here. So this is one phrase and this. So I want to create a reverb tail to use later on to kind of blend in that vocal. And one way to do that is to have a reverb on here. And I'll just increase the size. And reverse the vocal and set up a new audio track feeding in from the track above. And I just want that first part, which is reversed now. And let's arm that and record it. Okay, we have some bleed here. That is not by design. So let's try it again. Okay, that's one, and cutting it again. And undo the reverse. Now I have to place it correctly again. Now I'm reversing those. Don't forget to turn off that EQ. I'll collapse it. Let's see how that sounds. Nice. Exactly what I was going for. I'll fade it out. Also fade in will not hurt. Adjusting the volume because it was a bit too loud in my opinion. I would sleepwalk to your house if you leave me with a doubt. I would go the extra mile. I would give you one more time. And I feel we can ease down on the echo as well. It's a bit much. Can you make me believe? My vision's always clearer when I feel close to me. I would sleep. Daydream or I dream of you whenever I breathe. Can you make me believe? My vision's always clearer when I feel close to me. I would sleepwalk to your house. Sorry about that. I have to put those back here. All right, I like what we have so far, but I still want some more punch out of this. So how am I gonna go about this? We'll start with an EQ on that bus, and a de-esser do we have? Yes, perfect. Because now, from all that compression and editing, the S sounds are a bit loud. Check with another OTT, actually. I'm just checking to see if we can boost up the sum of the vocals a bit more. Yeah, the compression from that OTT, even though the setting is pretty low, it helps to glue that reverse sound together with the actual vocal. And the de-esser I could have put on this track as well, but this makes it a bit easier, I think. Let's name this maybe. I have to say I'm pretty happy with the sound of that. amazing. And now we finally have enough to work with and stretch out a proper arrangement. So up next would be arranging everything, because this is a mess. There's like stuff flying around and semi-finished. So let's tackle that. On to the arrangement. All right, perfect. So we have everything we need to arrange the track. And as a general note on how I approach arranging, I want to really find the perfect combination of a short arrangement down to the point focused, so that there is no part of the track that gets too repetitive or boring, but also there should be enough space for the whole idea to evolve, and it should also be DJ friendly. So there's going to be an intro and an outro, but also the track should be composed and written, arranged in a way that it's also good for listening. So that's the goal here. And what I typically like doing is either arrange into a drop, or like we did here, into a break that just helps to manifest a structure, topic, and idea for the track. So that's what I'm going to do now. So we already have a good sounding section here with everything playing. And that's where I want to lead into the break. So the setup is pretty good already, I think. But when playing this earlier, I've noticed that I want the vocal to come in a bit later. So let's just play this and I will shift the vocal back. I pretty much like it the way it is already, and we have 3 repetitions of the chords, and it's also nice that it stops here, I think. This makes a great opportunity to leave the vocal solo here as it ends, and then reintroduce those elements from earlier, like the ratcheting and the main melody. So let's check this. Actually, I wanted to undo the change. Anyways. Yeah, this is coming along. It's pretty well. It's almost as if the track is writing itself. So I like the structure here, and as we're arranging now, it is also time to set up some effects. This goes hand in hand, so I will navigate to the samples, and let's check what effects we have. Maybe a bit quieter. So that will be used for sure. Reverse. And I'm just assigning individual audio channels for all those. And that's the vocals. All right. So we can set up group for the FX, and same deal here. We'll use a utility -12 just so that everything is at the correct gain in relation to each other. And I want to start with that crash cymbal. That's pretty loud. This is a perfect fit, pretty much. You can disable warping on this. And I want to extend this. So we have 3 times the chord. Alright, then it's the vocal kind of soloing. We have this break of 1 bar. Then we should add another. That means around here would be a good point in time to drop. Let's maybe check this sound next. Okay, so I want to cut this a bit shorter as I'm planning to reuse the sound for the drop as well. And then of course I can already put some drums here. And this warping here bothers me. Also the bass should be playing. Now we're heading somewhere. I also have this vocal texture. Planning to use that. Should be in the same color though. This can pretty much play throughout, but I will need to adjust it to make it fit into the mix. Okay, so we have a structure going from the break to the drop now. It's pretty good. Let's go left a bit again. And I do think we can try to put that crash cymbal here. So we would have like a full block, 16 bars. So this. adjusting that background vocal because I do think it is out of key. Should be okay now. Might need to double check later. See if that makes for a nice transition here. Amazing. It's coming together really nicely. Not sure if I want that ratchet sound in there just before the drop. Because the way it is structured now with that break, there will be an awkward pause. So because the drop, it's on 77, and with that part here and there, I think it's better to chop it here. Accidentally copied the wrong MIDI here from the bass. Of course, the progression should keep going. Alright, the whole track is coming along quite nice. Now I want to collapse everything and shift it back a couple of times, just so that there's enough room for an intro eventually at some point. And that's what I want to do next. Arrange towards the left. And I'm not sure if the break is a tiny bit too long. So I want to listen and check if it needs to be shortened. Because I have a feeling that synth would be nice to come in later. And also that vocal should play another time. Time-wise, let me check. that does not mix well. Maybe we can use the second phrase again and put it... that didn't copy well. Let me delete that and try again. So I want just these two. Get rid of this. And now, all right. So let's see how this sounds. It needs to be back by 1 because we have that singular space here. Still not right. And also we're gonna have to adjust the volume. The vocal is drowning at the moment against the lead. For now I will bump up the group a bit. Okay, this is better. Let me try to pull that whole progression part a bit back and extend the regular rhythm. And for the drums I will do this and extend them back like that. This is better, and when listening back now, kind of like how the claps came in here. So I'm thinking to leave it like this and just extend the hats to the left. Out the bass to the left for now. Like the pad coming in halfway of this 16 bar section. So this right here would be a great opportunity to have a small little break. Let's see how we can realize that. I'll drag the kick to the left and just delete a part of this. And check what I can keep running. to bring back the ARP. Don't want to have it running in that break section, but I think here it can come in. 16th synth I'm gonna keep for the build-up section towards the drop. And maybe it's also a good idea to copy it over here. There's also still a lot of automation left to do, so let's not forget about that. So here we would have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 16 plus 8 here. Be 53. I'm gonna have to extend those drums here too. And then the ratcheting synth should probably be introduced at that point in time as well. Definitely need the pad for support. So this right here would be the intro section, not done yet. And that would be the first drop then. A smaller break, big break and big drop. Looking good so far. The ARP can go with the pad here. The vocal should also be introduced, and I think this section here would be a good part to play it. So let's maybe line it up towards that mini break here. So that way it's 16 and 8. Yeah, this needs automation. I'll do that in a second, but I want to get the vocals down first. And then this would be the first drop, so vocal, first drop, and dry. Okay, let's not forget about the effects. I have to carry those to left as well. So we have a drop situation here. And then vocal here, this would be a good point in time to introduce a break. So I have to bring over the drums. Do have one more riser. I did not use it before, so let's bring that in here. I want some kind of riser effect into that break section here. So let's play that, see how it sounds. It's 127, 127. Way too loud. Actually has to be on 53. Then I can leave the room for this mini break. Perfect. Just copying over that riser to where the crash cymbal is playing, just so that there's some consistency and you have kind of an expectation when that sound comes that there's another introduction of another part, another sound, another section of the track. Then I can use this on the drop as well. This. The break still sounds a bit empty for now. I am already thinking of something. I think we can come up with an element for in between here, but I want to lay down the structure of the track first. It's going to make it easier in the long run. And also I want to make use of that high pass kick. So let's put it in here. Maybe also for the intro. But it should stop once the vocal comes. Alright, perfect. Time to look at arranging towards the end. Not sure how long I'm gonna make the track. Let's just extend the kick drum for now. And I quite like how it drops with just a kick. It's very dry. And could let it play for... This would be one progression. Yeah, and now there should be the additional drums. Let's see, what was this here? So we'll copy all of that over. Sounds great. So there would be 4 times the chord pattern. I think after that we can go back to the regular bass pattern. Because there's some component to this, you kind of want to go back from the grandiose melodic kind of moments at some point, just so that the energy comes down again. It's also way easier for DJ purposes to arrange it like this. So eventually I want to come back from this. So of course the peak of the track is the breakdown and the big drop, and then it should ease back out again. And I can, yeah, this fits perfect. So I can leave the claps until here. Check about the rest. I think the hi-hats and everything, they can run for a bit longer. I will cut it here, so this should be the end. But it's a bit much with all those elements running, so probably I will have to take out the hats and everything like this, so it's half and half hats until here, and then just outro part. Those can keep playing all the way till the end. As far as the melodics go, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 times that pattern. That's fine. I also think around here it would be nice to ease down the overall energy. So let's see. I have the pad. Let's bring that ARP back actually. For 1, 2, then we can use this to filter it out again eventually. That should do the trick. And maybe just to create a peak around here, let's bring in that vocal one more time. So let me copy this here. And yeah, I think that's a perfect fit. Let's check. Great, perfect. So this is a good point in time to tackle the automations. And there's a bunch of stuff I still want to do. For example, an element here, I'm thinking of a bass line just to fill up the break and give it some big, like I'm imagining a growling Reese type of bass. And as you know, we still have some sound saved here. So I want to use that for drum rolls and flesh out the rise towards the drop a bit more. So let's do just that. All right, so time to finish up that bass idea I was talking about. I've created a new serum instance and I'm going for a Reese growly type of bass. And same thing here, we already have a lot of complex and full sounding sounds in this track. So I will keep it simple and down to what it's supposed to do. So let's just replicate that bass pattern because I'm going to make it follow the same progression as all sounds do. So it was F sharp, A, E. This. And one more. Perfect. And I will let it play from the same time as the break comes in. And I think it can play up until the pad. And we need to put in a little break. And then repeat it again. Turn it off here. Perfect. So on to the sound design of this one. Let's call it break bass. Definitely needs to be deep and low bass. Just to fill out the break, let me bring up a second oscillator. Go for a steeper cutoff again. This can use some drive. Getting a nice full growl from using that detune on oscillator A. Just checking to see. Oh, I like this. Let's adjust the envelope. And I want to take a look at the effects. I really want to go for something stereo because this is only playing in the break. It's not so important that the sound is perfectly mono compatible versus something that's playing during the drop, for example. So I want to use this dimension effect. I like that, and also it's distorted even more. Amazing. Sounds pretty good to me. And with this, I want to start automating all the tracks we have. So for example, on this sound, I'm really sure that I want to automate the filter. So let's set up a filter automation and just play and see how it connects with the other sounds. Slowly opening up, easing into that sound. Little low cut here. Maybe a bit louder. Already works pretty well, bringing everything together. Really opening up towards the break. Creates a nice tension. Perfect. Let's take a look at that main serum bass. I also want to automate the filter of that because right now it's playing very closed and I want it to be a bit more open, especially on the drop, so that it has a bit more impact. And it can go back again, maybe rise towards that section, because here, yeah, we have the arc coming in. And from here on, section here. Want to open the filter a bit before. Might have to adjust some of this, but that's something I want to do on the bus, I think. So for now, I will just get automation down. I do feel it would be nice to have the beginning with only the effects bass playing, and then when the kick comes fully in, that's a good moment to introduce that synth. There's another drop here, so you might want to raise the cutoff towards that. A bit smoother. Let's get that over here. The automation to the other bass as well. Great. Also, we have two sections where I still want to use this drum sound I've been saving up. So let me create another MIDI track for a simpler, where I will use the sample for a drum roll. And this can be deleted. And where's the drop here? 81. So I'm gonna do a basic 16th pattern. Automating the volume of the sampler. I am thinking maybe I want to reuse that snare to do a kind of Prida snare effect. So let's first of all rename this and copy one of those over here. Like this. Now I just need to make it shine because it sounds a bit underwhelming. Cut a bit of that body as well as a compressor, because the volume automation is nice, but I want to keep it a bit in check. So I'm picking a threshold just where it's about to get loud. And this is a nice counteraction. I'm not gonna overcomplicate it. Standard settings are fine for this, I think. So we have a snare roll, and here this needs some editing because I want to make it brighter and poppier. So first of all, I will distort it immediately. I mean, of course it's louder, but it does sound better. Just making it pop a bit more. Also, I will use erosion. And I like using the white noise setting because it introduces stereo fizzle, kind of. So yeah, those two effects really make it stand out a bit more. Let me deactivate them. Sounds very muffled, not so nice. This is way better. Let's pull up an EQ as well. Those lows are really distorted now from those two plugins, so they definitely need to be cut. I want to bring out this poppy 1 kilohertz frequency. Great. Let's look for a hall kind of reverb. Maybe there's some presets. I think actually this one was quite good. And I want an automation that closes the reverb for when the drop hits, so I will actually automate this. For the pad, I want to automate the frequency, so let's create an automation for that. I will turn off the ARP for now because it's kind of masking that sound as of now. I just want to fade it in. Maybe even a bit higher, the initial point. And then close it again, so that the reverbs and delays we have in there drag over into the pre-break section. And then the filter can just gradually open towards the end here. I have to do some work on the mix after this as well. And I just want to double check all the elements. Because now you can hear, with the pad playing, the vocal is being drowned. They are conflicting in the same frequencies. So that's something to take care of, but I will do the automations first. Because that's also something, when the pad is closed all the time, you don't really notice that. So it helps to scan for regions when that happens. And there's two ways to go about it. I could either say, okay, the pad shouldn't play open when the vocal is playing, or I do work in the mix and make it work that way. But first, let's finish this automation. And the pad. Actually, this is offset for some reason. I think I want to have it play from when the kick comes in. Fine. And then the pad could open up towards that first drop section. All right, perfect. Now for the ratchet synth, also cutoff modulation. And this has to play a bit more open. It sounded too muffled right now when it was playing. And maybe I have to do some adjustments to the filter cutoff amount too. Playing through here. Not sure if I like this part. I think I will deactivate it here, and then in this section, the filter can gradually close. Just to make room for that opening pad and everything. In this section, we definitely need it open. Or maybe? This also sounds nice, closing it a bit. Because it's not playing afterwards, and then I can make it hit harder here after the break. And also gradually fade it out towards the end. Bring that ARP back in. This also needs to be automated. Just a gradual opening movement to create some tension in between those sections and blocks of track we have created. Okay, here. Same deal, it should be faded in using the filter. And I think it would be better without this, because then it's going back into the pad, so we have like an AB. But then the pad could open a bit more. Just like this. I'm thinking whether to put the ARP in here or not, so let me just test that. Could sound nice also if it's back here, so let's just try that. So that the ratcheting synth ends and the ARP comes in. Perfect. Now for the end. We'll bring that up one more time since we don't have the pad thing here. And then just close it towards the end. The 16th synth I haven't touched too much now, but it also definitely needs a filter automation to create that tension that I've designed it for. So let's do just that. Also a bit too loud still. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't like that it's playing after the drum roll, so I will deactivate this. See how it sounds. Better. And then again, just a simple filter movement back here. Same purpose, open up the tension. Gradually filtering that in. also, since I had to cut this, I want to check. Maybe cut those effects here too. Not feeling it too much cutting here. Where's the other one? Here, let me check that. Also, I want to check with those. I have to warp them, put them into complex, but I want to check how it sounds an octave up. It's nice, it creates a bit more tension, so do want to keep that, but also I want to put some room on this. Let's see if there's a preset that fits. Not feeling this one. This is interesting. Very tiny, small room. I think that fits well. Maybe a bit quieter. Nice. So let's check the other effects. Maybe I want to cut a bit of those lows because those are also, well, not lows, but the low part of the sound is conflicting in the mids a bit. So I want to cut that. Let's check this sound. I think that's good for now. And this, do I need a room here? I think they're pretty much fine already, but I do want to low cut the whole bus because we don't need frequencies in the bass area from here. So perfect. All right. So we've come pretty far. It is time to take a look at the mix and finalize everything. And when doing that, what I like to do is to work on the buses as well as on single elements if need be. I will also take a break now, listen to this on my monitor system here in the studio because I've been working on headphones now for a while. That will help. And also taking breaks, super important, not only to rest your ears, but also to create a sensation of hearing the track again for the first time. What I mean by that is it really helps, in my opinion, to approach a track every now and then with a bit of distance, because when working on projects like this, especially for a long time, you tend to get used to the sound. And just imagine this, you walk into your friend's studio or something and you're hearing a track for the very first time. When you do that, it's very obvious. Maybe sometimes one element is too loud or too bright or too dull, and you immediately hear it because you're not attached to the track, you haven't worked on it yourself, you haven't heard it for hours on end. So that's really helpful to do when producing as well, to just get into that mindset of, all right, I'm having fresh ears, I'm listening to this, is there anything that stands out positively or negatively, and then address that. So that's up next. We will finalize everything, work out the details, and wrap everything up, hopefully. So see you in a bit. Alright, so I am back with a fresh pair of ears after listening to the track on different sound systems, and there's a couple of things I want to address. I'm going to go through each bus or group now and work on those elements. So I want to start with the drum bus. That's usually the easiest for me, also what I start with. And yeah, let's just check and watch the levels, and if I address something, I will tell you why. And yeah, let's just start. This is good for now, I think, but I want to give this drum roll a kind of boost. Just so that this blends over a bit more nice. I had a feeling this was a bit too quiet compared to this Prida snare clap, which I felt sit nicely in the mix. It's only playing 2 times, so it can punch. Great, okay. Now that group here, let me check on that. Sounds pretty good. I'll have to double check the levels. This is fine. All sitting pretty okay. There was something I noticed about the dynamics of the drums, and I am thinking to do that in the actual group, so this is fine for now. Let's check the clap. So we have that clap loop. Maybe a tiny bit louder. Snare is fine for now, but also something I felt was that when the ARP and the 16th come in with the ratchet synth here, could sound good if that snare is playing. So let me just put that here, 2 to the left. Let's check how that sounds. That's better. That was just something I've noticed when listening back, that this is kind of repetitive, especially in the drum section, so adding this here will work good, and I'm just turning off the clap for that part again. I think the kick actually can stand out a bit more, so I'm going to put a utility on here. Just a tiny boost on the kick. Because what I've noticed was that the highs are pretty loud or overwhelming, and it kind of drowns the kick, especially the clicky part, which is important so that you can actually hear the rhythm. So I'm just boosting that a bit, and now I want to address the highs. For that, I want to do another bus processing, or Command G audio effect unit. And I want to use a multi-band compressor on here. So what is my goal here? I feel that when the drums play, listen to this. Even though I cut some of the samples shorter, as you remember earlier, I feel it could still be a bit more punchy, more emphasis on the transients, but only in the high end. So I'm splitting the band using this multi-band here, and let's just focus the highs, isolate them. And I want to find a cutoff. Yeah, I'm just scanning for the cutoff. This is too low. You can hear parts of the click from the kick coming through. It's a bit too high. Gonna settle right around here. So what I want to do here is make the highs snappier. That means when the hi-hats ring out, they should ring out faster, and when they set in, they should punch a tiny bit harder. I can achieve this by pulling this here into the negative. That means every sound that's below the threshold gets reduced in level. Let me do it really extreme so you can hear what it's actually doing. This is way too much, of course, but I want to use this to figure out a threshold. Somewhere around here. So if I turn this off, you have a lot of sustain from the hats and the claps. This is a lot punchier. And let's check here. The ratio needs to be adjusted by taste. This is too much. This is not enough. Right around here. That is going to do it for me. And the above part, I will do the same thing, but the opposite. So once it goes over that threshold, it pans the sound. It doesn't compress, it expands if it's in the negative here. So going easy on that setting, not looking to overdo it. That's minus 21. And I think this one can go a bit further back. So you hear the difference it makes? It just emphasizes the transients of the drums, makes them punchier, cut through the mix a bit more, and it will make sense when everything is playing together. So I do want to check with an EQ as well. And those other bands here, I will leave unaffected. Mount, can double check as well. Easing back just a bit, because we did do quite extreme settings here. Snare stands out a bit too much, and now since we over time decrease the volume of the high end, I'm gonna give it a tiny bit of boost. So now it's more clear, I think, to hear what I mean. Let me play it again without the effect. You really have that drag from the hi-hat, and it sounds a bit more tight like this. So I'm pretty happy with that change, and that's good for the drum bus, I would say. Alright, onto the bass bus. Okay, so let's move on to the bass bus, bass group. So when listening, I noticed that together with the drums, the balance was not perfect yet. The bass sounds a bit muffled, a bit filtered too much. So I'm looking to address that. And the bass here sounds fine for now, but I also want to take a look at the patch. And also, I feel there should be some kind of automation or filtering happening in this long break here. So that's what I'm going to start with. And for that, I will use an EQ3. I will set it up in a way so that I can automate the low and high gain towards the drop to then ease back in. You could do this with an auto filter as well. I just like doing it with an EQ3 now. So let's set everything up. And I will take care of the low gain first. Let me loop this section here. Just to find the sweet spot. I will use a more gentle filter. And now I can automate this gain. And I will pull it actually even a bit off from here. And make it so that it just filters out the low end. And then back in. Also, when playing back, I felt that in this section it would be nicer to not have the bass playing at all. This creates more contrast towards the drop and makes it more impactful. So I will introduce that change as well. And I also want to filter the high end here. So same procedure. I'm gonna go all the way down because the sound doesn't have so much high end to work with. So I'm cutting the filter a bit more so that the change is a bit more impactful. And same steps as before, I want the highs to be fully there again after the drop. And here I can do a shape like this. So that way the bass gets filtered out and sounds quite good with the other elements. So let's keep that change. I only want to do the high filter in the long break here, but I am thinking to introduce that low filter again towards this drop here. Maybe even towards the main drop. That's okay. But then towards the break maybe. Let's see how that sounds. Same principle again, it just creates more contrast towards the drop and makes it sound more impactful. And then here, as we are smoothly transitioning into that bass, I think it would be a good idea to slightly roll off the lows here. Now let me dive into the patch just one more time, because as I was playing around earlier with a mod wheel, I think we might get a nicer tone out of this utilizing that. So let's check in this section here. And I will leave drums and bass only now. I'm just listening for two things. One is like the low end itself, the bass, but also the high end that comes through from the transient of the bass, which comes from that filter we've used. So let's see what we can do here. This would be even more filtered. This is a bit more gritty. I think I like the mod wheel forward position more, so I will use that. Also, let me check that matrix. The assignment type here, it was on both ways before, I think on the variation and volume just now. And it was a bit too dynamic maybe. It worked before with the other module position. But I do think I prefer this. So let me just take those changes over to the other patch. Now the break bass, I wanted to check if I can actually make the texture a bit more gritty. And earlier I played around with those features here. I think the wave bend might be a better choice here, so I will leave it like that. Transition is nice. What else? Compressor, just to get the dynamics in check on this sound, or on this group, actually. Because you can see we have a bit of jumping in volume. I just want to address that. Not in a major way though. Just really subtle short attacks so that it immediately grabs the transients. Or not the transients, but those peaks. Sounds good to me. Now we're losing a bit of volume, so let's just increase the gain on that according to the drums, which, as you remember, I also increased the gain on the kick a bit. Just the 2 dB boost. You see we are gain reducing by 1 decibel, so 2 decibels. That's within a good margin. All right. So much for the bass group. Now we have drums, bass. Time to look over the melodics, vocals, and effects. All right, so onto the melodics. There was quite a few things I've noticed, and I will guide you through, let you know what I think and why. And I want to start here bottom up, so let's start with the break melody. And I felt it was a bit too happy sounding, maybe not mysterious enough. So I want to go back into the patch here actually and see what we can do. So for one, it is a bit too quiet, so definitely we are going to need a boost in volume. Yeah, I'm maxing out the mixer here, but that should do the trick. And I do think 1 octave down does sound better on this. feel with the break as well, because we have that big bass and we are directing the energy towards a darker sound, then opening up and dropping into the beat again. So I think this is a positive change. We'll leave it like that. Let me just double check. Yeah, the filter needs to open a bit more. Because otherwise it's a bit too quiet and hard to hear. This is good for now. Let's check the 16th synth. And here's something I've noticed when listening was this low fundamentally, or I tried to cut it away with the EQ, but I do think maybe we should go back into the patch, and since we've decreased the octave on the other one, let's see what happens if we change the octave here. That's a good change. Also, maybe increase the volume a bit. To this. That's fine. What next? The ARP. Also, let me delete those remainders here. The ARP is fine so far, but I feel it could actually have even more space because it's really just a background ambience kind of sound. So I want to bring in another echo in here. Also to leave a kind of trail leading over into the 16th. I think it makes for a nice flow and bridge to that sound. That's good to go for me now. Let's address the lead. The lead, I like the MIDI and I like the sound, but I feel it could actually cut through the mix a bit better. So let's see what we can do about that. And as with the other elements, I'll just peek into the patch and see what we can do, what we have to work with. Let's go in here. It's not hitting hard enough. So a few things we can do. We already have, we have a distortion in here. So let me play around with the filter drive a bit. Also, it could be a good idea to add a sub bass here. This is a tough one. I actually like all the octaves. This could even be a nice sound to automate. But I want to keep it simple, so as it is a mid sound, a lead centered around the mid frequencies, I'm gonna go for octave on level 1. It's helping just another oscillator to cut through a bit more. That sounds better. And also Maybe a bit more gain here. Trying to not overdo it now. Now this is one of the elements that is conflicting with the vocals back here. I noticed when listening. Also here. And not here. So let's focus on this part for now, where the vocal is actually playing. I want to set up a side chain to the vocal, just to address that issue. I'm going to use a regular compressor. And I will put it before that EQ here. Sidechain to the vocals. I'm trying to find a good threshold. Pretty subtle, but it does help quite a bunch. So we'll leave it like this. That's good. Leading me to another element. Well, I'll stay in order, but the pad, I need to do something similar. Let's focus on that ratchet synth for now. And I will play this section here. With the ratchet synth, I've noticed something similar to the lead, where it was not sounding aggressive enough for the type of sound that it is. So I will also go into that patch here. Let's see what we can do. Same approach as before. See where we can get with drive. I remember earlier I was playing with the level, not sure how to go about it on the B oscillator, because that's FM modulating the A one. And this one, if you listen, it has a very high pitch to it. So when I turn this down, it sounds way better. Yeah, pretty simple fix, I think, here. Volume-wise, we're good for now. I will still do some editing on the group anyway, so let's check that first. Now onto the pad. Like I said, same problem, same fix. We are going to use a compressor to set up a sidechain to the vocal group. Sidechain vocals. Perfect. Now, where are they playing simultaneously? We have the pad up here. Yeah, this was the main problem area, and back here, no pad. We have a pad here, but the vocal was pretty loud here. But since the sidechain is coming from the vocal group, which has been automated, as you remember, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. I'm going to focus on the problem area now, which is here. And let's just solo the pad and the vocals. The pad and the vocals are the worst offender problem in this mix, I would say, because they are pretty much playing the exact same frequency spectrum, and you could separate it by time, so not have them play at the same time, or you have to work around like this, carve up some space. There's lots of different ways to do it. There's lots of fancy tools, but I will use just a compressor now, because it should be an easy fix if done right. sound with a longer attack here. Because I don't want this effect to be obvious. If the attack and wreath are very fast, it pretty much ducks immediately. I want it to just kind of go away a bit. Just make space. Nothing too elaborate. So this is a good setting, but the threshold is too low and we have too much ratio going on. So 2 decibels gain reduction. 3-4-ish. Let's see how it sounds together. This is way better already. Let's check back here. The vocal is playing solo, so it's okay that it's a bit louder. My main concern has been addressed. Now let's get into the group processing here and let's see what we have. We already have a sidechain to the kick. I want to try and compress all the melodies together, just to make the mids a bit more upfront. For example, you can even see and hear the difference in volume from the lead, which should be right in your face, and that ratcheting sound, which also should be, but not over too much time. So I'm going to give it a bit of an attack, so that if that ratcheting synth, for example, is cutting through, it does, but only for a short amount of time, and then it can ease back again. Again, keeping it subtle. We have maybe 1 decibel of reduction. Fine, that's within a decent amount, I think. Sweet. Let's follow up with an EQ. And actually I will put this in mid-side mode because we do have quite a bunch of frequencies separated in the stereo image in the low frequencies, which I want to get rid of. So I'm going to the sides here, going in the sides here and cutting the lows. Let's check here. Yeah, here. Just to kind of get rid of that side information. It might sound nice on headphones, but this is just looking for trouble on different playback systems. And that distortion in the high end, I think we can even boost it a bit. It sounds nice, it's ear candy, I want to have that in there. Like this. Now the mids. Tiny boost around 1 kilohertz, just to make them cut through ever so slightly more. Now let's listen back to what we have and see if we're onto something. Really like it so far, that's amazing. Came together pretty well, especially after those mixing adjustments, in my opinion. Sweet. just check the drop one more time.
I will sleepwalk to your house. If you leave me with a doubt, I would go the extra mile. I would give you all my time.
I do think the filter on the ratcheting could be open a bit more here towards the drop. Also, there was this automation I forgot to copy over, so let's do that now. Over here as well, just duplicating it. Perfect. Let's check it again. That's where the money's at. Perfect. Great. So I think we're good on the melodics as well. Everything is sounding pretty tight. I like it. Let's touch up the effects one more time before heading to the final stage. I'm pretty happy with what we have so far. As you have seen, there were just some minor details that ended up affecting the greater picture, the mix, how elements interact with each other. And doing something like this, it's important also to step back and get some distance to the track, I feel. It always helps me. And also for every element, it helps to think about what do you want to achieve with it. Should it be a focus element? Should it be in the middle, clear, loud? Should it be in the background? Is it supporting? So that's how I went about this. And I think the changes are for sure net positive. I like how it sounds. So we're on the right track. Now I just want to finish by checking on the effects, and then we can head over to the final step. All right, so the next thing I've noticed when listening, and also something I've mentioned earlier, the vocals masking with the instruments. And I thought of going into the melodic group now, but actually I do want to take care of the vocals first and then go back into the melodics and do some adjustments. I'm thinking to do some side chaining to make room, for example, with the pad. But before I do that, I want to get the levels and gain and everything on the vocals right. So let's check on those. I think they sound fine the way they are, but together with the other elements, for example, here it gets drowned. Not audible. And then here, it's kind of fine. So we need to work around that. And it's a pretty straightforward problem, so to say. So the first thing I will do, I will raise the volume on the vocal here. I will use a utility for that. And I will level this to my problem area here. So that would be a hefty boost to do here. We'll go for 6 decibels. And then here it's quite loud. So because if I go for more, we would just run into more trouble, I think. So I'm just boosting the volume a bit, and then the reverse I need to adjust accordingly. This will do fine. And then the whole vocal group, I will put a utility on here to automate the gain according to my mentioned problem areas. So here we have a lot of masking. Let's just set up an automation for that. Keep it at 0 decibels. And I want to do an increase here around that problematic area, just by a decibel or so. Nothing too fancy or extreme. And then for the beginning part, I will tone it down just a bit before I place here with the other instruments, because that's where those two parts were the biggest difference I felt.
Feel close to me. I I would go there.
So we have about a 3 decibel difference. That's fine. We can work with that. And that should be good on the vocals for now. Now it's time to make room, like I said, in the melodics. That's where we are going to head next. Alright, so let's take a look at the effects, which I'm pretty happy with. So this might be a quick endeavor. I basically just want to double check the levels, see if I'm happy with the placement. So for each element, I'll just skip through where it's playing, see if the volume is all right, and go from there. Earlier, I decided to leave this in. Now I feel it might be better just like this, the way it is on the final drop here. Volume is okay, I think. Yeah, -12, somewhere around there. Great. Volume here is fine too. Let's check the noise. We're good on that, I think, as well. I have a feeling it's a tiny bit loud here, but I will just cut the sample because the other ones seem fine. That way I'm leaving out that tiny bit louder part in the beginning, then that will do. Let's check those here. Feeling maybe the cymbal could be a bit louder. Just a tiny bit. We are good on levels here. Alright, so I am quite happy. Let's listen through one time before we move on to the final step, which would be preparing some kind of master just to be able to play the track, to listen to it on different systems, maybe send it as a demo. And before we do that, I just want to double check everything. So let's have a full listen. Already I'm noticing something. What happened here? Oh, okay, so good thing I'm checking. The automation was not properly copied, and instead it was the track volume. That's not how it's supposed to be. I'm sorry about that. Let me just fix it, holding shift and okay, let's check it now. This is quite a long section in the beginning without a lot happening. So one final touch could be to bring over some drums a bit before. Maybe we have something subtle. This would do well. I'm gonna go for the whole set of hi-hats here without that groovy loop. Oh, the groove coming in. Sounding good so far, vocalist up front, nice pad, giving a nice support in the background. Filtering of the bass is very subtle. Filter could be a bit more closed here. Replicate it. So it's about the same. Really like that section here. That was an important change on that melody here. While I'm at it, might as well clean it up a bit. Not planning on renaming the effects, but just check here. Time to get rid of these, as I didn't use them. Which, by the way, like the return effects, there's many ways to do something like this. Like, for example, I duplicated the bass track there. It's just personal preference. There's no right or wrong way to do it if you're achieving the same thing. If you leave me with the doubt, I would go the extra mile. I would give you all my time. Just double check something here. Just thinking if this effect might sound better here. I will need to double check that.
I would give you all my time.
Sounds amazing here with the filter open versus before I changed it. Just because the impact of the drop here is different than there. So it's something you can always adjust depending on the situation. You might want to ease that in a bit more. Just the DJ outro. Perfect. You can put in your loop here, here. If you're playing in key or not, depends. Perfect. All right. Time to head on over to the final step and yeah, just preparing a playable master of the track. That's what will be done next. Alright, so on to the final step, preparing a quick master just to be able to play the track out, listen to it, send it as a demo. So yeah, usually what I do is I do mix and master other people's tracks. For my own tracks, I always prepare a quick master like this, just like I said, for sending out as a demo or to listen back to it for my own sake, and just for playing it out, it comes in really handy. So let's do just that. And the philosophy here is I will keep it pretty close to the mix. I will literally just get it up to volume, check minor details. It's all subtle adjustments that will be done from here on, and yeah, jump right in. All right, so on to the master. Also a quick note, if you remember about that effect. I played around a bit off camera with this and I found that this position here was better when that lead is coming in again. Other than that, nothing changed. And let's jump into the mastering chain. So first of all, let's go to a busy part, maybe around here, and just check the levels. We're all clear on levels. This utility probably did its job, so I will get rid of it. This limiter can stay here for now. I will start with glue compressor. I like using the glue compressor, especially on groups or master, because it has a nice coloring to the sound and it behaves in a really nice way for summed sounds. So I will actually use a bunch of those, I already know. So let's group those into an audio effect track so we can turn it on and off. Perfect. And also spectrum might come in handy. Let me just place it. Sweet. So I usually have a 2 compressor setup like this, one to catch the fast audio peaks and one to have a bit of a slower response. And the first thing I usually do is catch the fast peaks. So turn this off for now and I will show you what I mean by that. So when everything is playing here, first thing is bringing down the threshold. And I want a fast attack here. And with that extreme threshold setting, I'm just looking for... Now this is catching the transients really fast. And here you can already hear them coming through, so I'm going for 0.3. So just that when a sound comes in, it immediately gets grabbed, but not like instantly. We still want to have some organic pumping movement in it. And also the release, same thing here. It can be fast. The shorter the release, the more distortion you introduce. So also here it's about finding a balance. 0.2, 0.4. Might actually go for 0.2 here. And now it's just a matter of finding the right threshold, and we can use the gain reduction meter for this. I'm reducing the range a bit. You can see the clap and that ratcheting synth that's cutting through. This is pretty good. Also, by the way, this range just says the maximum amount of gain reduction. So if I have it all the way, it has the potential to reduce 70 decibels of gain. If I have it like this, the maximum would be 1 decibel, but you can see the needle is barely moving. I think I had it at like 20 or something. We're barely reducing a lot here. Actually, go like this. This sounds fine for now. Let's check on it quieter. Please back up again. Back here it's really busy too. That's good. Now I want to have a second compressor, like I said, a bit slower for more of that pumping movement. This is kind of introducing a texture, I would almost say. Let me show you what I mean. So here, the exact opposite. I want a long attack to let those transients snap through, especially the drums. You can really hear. Listen to the click of the hi-hat and the kick and the clap. It's like muffled and it's eating up the transients now. If I have it up here, they cut through. Actually, 30 is a pretty good value, I think, here. For the release, same principle applies. I think I like 0.6 here. Let's check the range and the threshold now. Really subtle, but it does make a difference. Let's try and listen for that. And of course, you need to take into account that we do have gain reduction going on. So if I turn it on and off, actually there will be a difference in volume, but that should not deceive you. Listen for the transients and the dynamics. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's follow up with an EQ just to make sure there's not a lot of distortion going on. Good on that. I'm not gonna do like any major cuts here on the master. That might mess up your phase. But what I'm looking for is, again, sweet spots and overall balance. So I will take one of those bands and sweep through a bit. Right here, there could be a bit of a boost. And what I like doing on the master, because really you only want to do subtle changes here. So what I will do is I will decide a setting and then I will bring down the scale later, just so I have an exaggerated version to more clearly hear what I'm doing. And then to taste, I will tone it down again. this is really extreme, I will tone it down using the scale. If you invert it, you can hear basically the opposite, just to make clear what I'm trying to do. That. Turn on oversampling and let's A/B. Very subtle, but just cleaning up what we have and emphasizing what's already good. And now I like to... I'll actually use this limiter since we're not clipping or anything. I'll put it in here. And I also like to use two limiters in a chain. And there's this limiter, which is amazing. The color limiter, it's a free Max for Life device. I'll put that in a chain. That's how I usually approach it. And there's a similar principle here. You can have only one limiter for sure, but it comes in handy to have one or more limiters so that each limiter has to do less work. That's one way to phrase it. Or in other words, the amount of distortion and gain reduction you're introducing is a bit more in check if you do it like this. So let's see what we can get here gain-wise. And I'm gonna go for a ceiling of -1, just so we have some room to push that limiter afterwards. Going right up until I see the gain reduction. Pretty happy with that for now. And let's see what the color limiter can do. I might have to ease down the volume here a bit because this one has more coloring sound, hence the name. And you can check this. If I really crank it, turn on the volume here, you can hear that it has the capability to really distort the sound, which is not what I'm going for. But I will use this exaggerated version again to dial in a value that I like. This to 0.03 just as a final stage limiter. And so if you go too quick on the release, there's just too much distortion. Also the gain is way too extreme. Already here the pumping also limiter can introduce. The limiter is basically a compressor with an unlimited ratio, and you don't have control over the attack and release. It's handled a bit differently, limiters, but yeah. Too pumpy down there. I like it like this. Now it's just a matter of how many decibels I want to drive into that last limiter. Going to be very subtle again. Just a couple of clicks. Okay. And with that, I think we are fine. Let's double check a couple of other spots. Gain should be lower on those, so.
To your house, if you leave me with a doubt, I would go the extra mile. I would give you all my time.
Maybe a tiny bit less space here. It sounds fantastic. Amazing. Let's check here as well. too much gain reduction. You can hear the pumping with the bassline change here. There's a lot going on. Sweet. I think we have a final result. And what's left to do? Maybe let's do a final comparison. And this doesn't really do justice because you would have to compensate for gain. Let's see what this quick little mastering chain does. So I'm going in here. That's the mission complete. Like I said, just keeping the dynamics in check, bringing the production up to volume for playing, for sending out as a demo, and that should do the trick. All right, that means we're done. So let's have one final listen, final playback, and call it a day. Also bring up the master volume again. I would sleepwalk to your house if you leave me with a doubt. I would go the extra mile. I would give you all my time. Amazing. It sounds great. One final change you saw me make is the ratcheting synth. I think it was a bit too loud, especially in the beginning. So I just notched it down 1.5 decibels, minor adjustment. But that's about it. And I will do another full playthrough without me touching anything. But yeah, I will sign off for now. So thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you can take away something from this lesson. There's a lot of different ways to approach music, and I hope you're open to get inspired from many different workflows. And maybe this inspired you to do something. Maybe you want to hop into the project. You will have access to the project file. You can work on it yourself. You can try to replicate some methods I've used, or even elaborate and expand on some concepts I've showed today. And I really hope you like the result. I hope you like the track. And thank you for watching.